This is the PR Podcast, a show about how public relations helps you tell your story to the world. We talk with great PR practitioners who have the skills, creativity, and just plain savvy to get their clients noticed. Now here's your host, Jody Fisher.
Hey everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the PR Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the first two episodes of our show. We've been busy recording more episodes with special guests, and we can't wait to share those shows with you. Before we get started, we also wanted to say thanks to everyone who was subscribed to the podcast and who's liked our page on Facebook. We really appreciate the interest and the support. We also encourage you to get involved in the podcast by sending us a message, either through our Facebook page at the PR Podcast or on Anchor, which is where we host the podcast. You can actually go there, record a message, and send it in to be featured on the show. And if all else fails, you can just record something into your phone and email it straight to me at jodyfisher@live.com. But please do get involved because we want to hear from you. Remember, we post a new PR podcast every Monday morning, so you can get your day started with us and then maybe even take some of those new ideas that we talk about into your new work week. That's what we want to do here, is be a service to you, a place where we can talk shop, share ideas, and make the PR industry, the stuff that we do every single week, a little more fun and a little more effective. So today is Labor Day. It's a holiday here in the United States, and it's a day when a lot of people are not at work. But newsrooms, as we know, never shut down. And let's be honest, PR people don't shut down either. We live and sometimes even sleep with our phones. We're never far from communication. But whether it is Labor Day or any other holiday throughout the year, reporters and editors are at work all the time, bringing you the news and the information that is essential to our society, our democracy, and to the functioning of the neighborhoods and the communities in which we live. Holiday newsrooms, however, are also thinner staffed than ever. Newsrooms in general are thinner staffed than ever. There are fewer people doing more jobs and having to cover more territory. And so reporters and editors look to PR people when we are pitching them stories to be efficient, to be effective, to help them do their jobs. Not do their jobs for them, but to help them report on the stories that you're asking them to report on. And so they put a lot of effort into especially scheduling and getting stories ready for lighter days like holidays, like Labor Day, or think Christmas or New Year's or any other day of the year when you've got more people not conducting regularly scheduled business. Reporters and editors prime the pump. They fill that pipeline with stories that can either are evergreen, that can be reported that day without needing to be tagged to some kind of timing, or they fill the pipeline with stories that are appropriate for that day, stories that make sense to come up on that day. And so you think of things like annual stories that come about on a holiday. And in the case of Labor Day, what are we talking about? We're talking about sort of the end of summer, the start of the new school year. And then more specifically, you'll get stories, and you're probably seeing stories today that talk about particular themes, such as, I'm guessing, what to do with your Labor Day barbecue this year in the age of COVID, right? What recipes you can cook, what recipes you can cook for your picky kids, the best beach spots to go to, or maybe the best ones to go to that aren't so crowded this year because we all want to practice social distancing. Maybe how to go to the beach and practice social distancing. Then on the flip side, looking at going back to school, we've already seen a lot of going back to school coverage already, and rightfully so. You're probably going to see even more back to school coverage today and tomorrow morning. I know that on Tuesday morning, my kids are going to be going back to school for the first time. So as a parent, I'm expecting to see stories about what's happening going back to school. Everything from what's going on inside the classroom to what's going on outside on the playground, if you are going on the playground, if it's smart to be going on the playground, what's going on the bus, maybe what's going on in the lunchroom, right? How kids are eating lunch when they're in school. Lots and lots of story ideas. And you can see we've just riffed off a few of them here. What your job is to do is to take a look at those possible stories, see how your clients fit into them, or use those as inspiration and say, oh, my client can talk about such and such, or this is a story that my client wants to talk about. Let's fit that into the Labor Day coverage this year, or let's fit it into whatever other holiday coverage you have this year. Remember this, we're PR people. We get paid to be creative. We get paid to bring our clients ideas, and ideas that are, here's the key word, actionable. We want to bring our clients actionable ideas, and then we want to bring reporters actionable stories. You don't want a reporter to have to think about your pitch, because if they have to think about how they're going to report it, they're probably going to delete it. So the idea is to bring the reporter an actionable pitch. And before you can do that, you have to bring your client an actionable idea that they can say, yes, we can do this, or brainstorm with them and say, hey, have you ever thought of this? That's really key to the client PR person relationship, and it's going to create a dynamic between you and your client that is a positive one, that's going to yield results, and will get you stories that you can bring to reporters and editors, and you can pitch and pitch successfully. So next time you're thinking about holiday coverage, think like an editor, think like a reporter, think about what's going to show up on that day or the day before or the day after, and then pitch that story far enough out. And I'm not even talking days, I'm talking weeks out, maybe a couple weeks out, saying, here's a great story for this upcoming holiday. Here's a terrific story that you'd like to report for this particular day, or the day before, or the day after, and then make all those elements available in advance. Don't ask someone to cover or to write a holiday story the day before the holiday's happening, unless the story is what's happening, like in the old days when we used to line up for Black Friday deals, let's say, for example, part of the critical part of the story was actually seeing the line out in front of the store, right? So you had to take the photo of the people standing out online at the store, and then you had to go talk to those people. We're not talking about that, right? We're talking about more feature coverage, stuff that can get pitched and written and saved and in advance, and then run on the day that it needs to run. So when you're thinking about holiday coverage, think like an editor, think like a reporter, and think like them every day of the year, right? But especially when we're talking about holiday coverage. So I hope you all have a great Labor Day holiday. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, please be safe. Please enjoy it with your friends and your family. Maintain that social distance and keep those masks on. And we'll see you next week on the PR Podcast.